All right. Welcome. My name is 12 Gauge. Thank you for being here. If you're a returning sub, thank you for continuing to come back. If this is your first time here, I hope that you hear something that you enjoy, something that gets you coming back, especially when I'm live. The more the merrier. It's always great to hear from you guys. It's always great to get some insightful feedback, to be able to discuss different things. What I say here is mostly my opinion. A lot of it that I speak on is alleged. And one thing that I wanted to say yesterday that I forgot to say is I speak in general terms. So therefore, I'm not speaking to anybody in particular. If the information that I give you, if it triggers anything or if it, makes you think a little bit, then maybe that's a good thing. I'm not here to change the world. I'm just here merely just to talk and to entertain some people. Hopefully, you guys enjoy both. I was gonna go live earlier, and I was gonna talk about relationships, and I decided to hold off because it was quite a long day today, and I really didn't have the gumption to talk about something um so intense. So I just wanted to get on here tonight. I just got through at the gym, and I thought I'd get on here and talk a little bit before I call it a night. Like the title says, is this thing on? Hello? Testing 1 2 1 2. I was thinking today on my drive home. I was thinking, it's hard to compete with the bigger channels, especially with the topics, because not everything is something that I want to speak on, because I'm one of those people that if somebody's talking about it and then somebody else is talking about it and somebody else is talking about it, I mean, I could throw my hat in the ring, but really, after you've heard it so many times, what kind of opinion do I really have on it that you haven't heard? You know what I mean? And another thing that I thought about is my time slot. You know, most of the bigger channels they have the daytime slot, so they get the most views. They get the most um, people tuning in at the most opportune times. I have the night slot or the evening slot usually, and that's usually when people have tuned in for the day, or maybe they're getting home and they're relaxing, then they want to hear something different. So there's a lot of challenges that I've observed, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Um, I just want to get on here and do that just to be able to give some insight, be able to give some kind of understanding on a lot of different things. One thing that I want to talk about real quickly, and then I'm going to move on from it, is the Idaho 4Ks. Brian Koberger obviously gave his alibi today, and the whole world's going crazy about it. They took a break from the murdered females, and now they're all over the alibi. I don't want to talk about the alibi. Hey, Kimber, how you doing? I don't want to talk about the alibi because it's plain and simple. I read that during the morning hours of the murders, he was out driving. I think it said Winnicke Lake or something like that, somewhere around there, Winnicke Park. I'm doing great. Thank you for being here. Um, and that says, he was out driving. Just like a while ago, I was out past 9 o'clock Central, and I'm out driving home from the gym. Does that mean that if a crime was committed anywhere near where my phone is pinging, does that necessarily mean that I was the one that did it? And I'm not trying to get started on all that because I've said so much stuff and other streams that I've posted, but it's really silly when you stop to think about how invested people are, and they can have their own opinion, they can have their own thoughts and beliefs. That's understandable. That's actually appreciated. But think about how silly it sounds that you're out driving around in the middle of the night because you can't sleep, and something tragic happens, and all of a sudden it's your car, it's your phone, and it's your DNA that are all at that place that the police have on you. There's no way that you could. I mean, I'm sure you're going to fight it with everything he has. But one of the biggest things that I've heard is, the stalking. Once they take that off the table, then you got the pings, and then you have the sheath, and then you have the car. So, I mean, this thing's been going on for a long time, and I think they're prolonging it. That way, a lot of people forget about it. Their emotions aren't involved in it, like it would have been had this case went to trial in October when it was supposed to. Had it been to trial in October, more likely than not, he would have probably been convicted. Not to say that he still doesn't have a chance to be convicted, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure he would have been convicted because the emotions were running high. They were a lot higher than they are now. You know, obviously that area is still kind of biased based on the attorney's interpretation of the surveys that they were given. It's still kind of biased. So that tells you that they still remember all the information and all the stuff that's been stated about the case. Hello there, Sergeant. Sorry I missed your live. I was at the gym earlier. I hope it was good, buddy. Hope that you're getting more followers and things of that nature. Um, you know, but whenever you're looking into a case, and I learned this weekend. I learned a valuable lesson this weekend on a live camera. You can believe all you want. You can have strong emotions about something. But when you read the law, it can make you feel like an idiot and it can make you feel small. I was doing a live on the Apple River stabbing, and I was being the antagonistic person, and I was, proving my case, and this guy was guilty because of this and that and the other. I even pulled up I even pulled up the law. And guess what? I started reading it. And no sooner did I read the first couple paragraphs, I was like, whoa, take a step back, 12 gauge. Take a step back. I even had to read it more than once. I don't know if y'all were hearing that live, but I had to read it more than once to be able to really grasp what it was that I was talking about. And once I read the law, my mind changed. You know why that happened? Because my intellect was challenged and I had a choice. I had a choice. I had a choice to either continue to fight against what was said in black and white, or I could accept that the law knew more than I and swallow my pride. And that's what I did. I swallowed my pride and accepted that the law read as the law read, which basically stated you can defend yourself to a minimum where it doesn't cause death. Basically, it means that you're allowed to defend yourself, but you can't go overboard and be killing people after you're you're in a safe place, or that you're able to escape that situation that you feel threatened at. And once I read that, I was like, man, no wonder they found him guilty. Because I was all in uproar before that. I mean, I saw the video, I saw everything, and I was like, man, this is some crap. They sent this guy. He should have been, um, I can't even think. My brain's going so fast. Exonerated. He should have been found not guilty. Bring out the lighted torches and everything, and let's go down to Wisconsin and let's throw a fit. But you know what? I was on panel with a good person, and he was able to really give me a counter defense or a counter prosecution. Or I was the prosecution, he was the defense. So he was able to give me a defense that I couldn't overcome. And that's probably what's going to happen in the Idaho 4 case. Is the prosecution going to be able to bring out some things that many people, oh my goodness, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. They're going to bring out some things in that um in that trial that we've not seen, we haven't heard. And some people's jaws are going to drop when the law side of it actually kicks in, whenever you're actually listening to the law side of it, when they're not talking about Linda Lane, when they're not talking about Banfield, when they're not talking about the grub truck, when they're not talking about um, things that you saw on video camera or what you didn't see on video camera, when they're actually going to stick to the facts and they're going to stick to the evidence and they're going to apply the law to it, you're actually going to see what really they have or they don't have. Kind of like this alibi. Kind of like this alibi. He was out driving around. Oh. He was out driving around and he realized he was near this place to base it by name. He gave a name. So if there's camera footage that shows him driving by at any time during the murders, guess what? Guess what? It's going to be tough for the prosecution. It's going to be very tough. Yeah, because we had heard a long time ago that the individual loved to stay up late at night. He loved to run. He loved to go drive around. I mean, even before he got to Pullman. So he said he was south of Pullman. South of Pullman. So if somehow they can line those pings up with the cast information, then the prosecution's in trouble. I honestly believe every time that we get a little bit more information, I believe that this individual is going to walk. At one point there, I really felt that he was guilty. I don't know why I felt that way. Maybe I drank too much of the Kool-Aid that was being served, and tasted good because it was nice and sugary. But now that I'm on a sugar-free diet, I mean, it don't taste so good anymore. I'm actually seeing clearly, you know? And I could still be wrong. I could still flip flop between now and the trial. I could still flip flop. It's okay. It doesn't mean that I am a bad person or you're a bad person. If you really try to make up your mind based on your understanding and not somebody else's. You said Ann's expert witness resume is about 90 pages long. Yeah, he's been working since he was one. He probably has. A lot of these people have been doing this a long time. And you know what the sad part about that is, Kimber? Is with all their expertise and all their knowledge and all their understanding of crime and everything else, there's still going to be YouTubers to discredit their ability to know what they're talking about. That's the ignorance of it all. You know what I mean? It's like there's gonna be people to discredit what these experts have to say. Think about it. If it doesn't meet what they believe or what they've heard, like if I believe, and I'm just taking this as an example because it's the first thing that popped into my head. I'm not trying to make fun of this creator or anything else. But if I believe that the reflections were the key to the crime, and this expert is talking to me about DNA and how long it lasts, and this, that, and the other, and we get an expert up there that talks about, you bring up they're not going to bring up the reflection, but if they brought up the reflection and somebody said, "Oh, there's no way a reflection can be um, valuable because of all the light that's distorted in the image and the camera is based in it, the lens turns around the image so you really can't tell. I'm just making shit up right now, but if they were to give some kind of expertise that challenged that, all those people that believed in the reflections, they'd be up in uproar, just like you said, Kimber. They'd be looking to lynch some witches. And they'd be talking about how stupid that expert is. And that expert doesn't know nothing. And somebody paid him off, and this and that and the other. Just wait. Just wait and hear what I'm talking about. How you already hear it on other panels, you already hear it. Don't you? Don't you hear it on other panels about when somebody of expertise has something to say, or somebody presents a evidentiary factual timeline that can't be discredited. There's a lot of people that challenge that. I'm going to bring up a person here in a couple weeks, probably. He's a crime analyst that lives in the Houston area. I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to see if he'll be willing to come up here and give his expertise because he's been before the House of Representatives. He's done a lot of great things, and a friend of mine turned me on to him, and I'm going to talk to him, and I want to bring him up here and kind of pick his brain and get him to speak on the knowledge of crime analysis and things like that. You know, there's a reason why people are called expert witnesses. There's a reason why they're called um, they have the expertise that they claim to have because they've been doing it for a long time. And does book work trump life experiences? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you can have life experiences that give you a lot of knowledge. I'm not trying to say anything negative about that. I'm saying that, when you have an expert that is able to scientifically give you an ulterior scenario to what it is that you're presenting, you can either open your mind up and say, well, that does sound a little interesting, or you can say, no, no, no way, bro. There's no way this dude knows what he's talking about. And I just hope that when we get to that point, or if you listen to any trials, because there's a lot of them going on right now. If you listen to any of these trials during the day, it'll kind of change your mind about the court process, because if you've never been to court in a criminal case, you really don't understand how it goes. I mean, I don't understand it. I didn't understand it till I was started to listen to the Apple River stabbing case. I watched that trial for 8 days straight, and it blew my mind. All the ways that the defense and the prosecution word things, the way they bring out the law, the way they're able to decipher and maneuver their wording to get the jury to see their side of it without saying, "Hey, you need to look at it my way." I mean, it's very interesting. And I really wish people would watch a lot more trials during the day. I mean, because you can educate yourself. That way, whenever this big trial happens, because it's going to be huge and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset. Kind of like the Kansas one, where those people were arraigned today. There's a lot of people angry about that with good reason. But what can you do to those people? They're already arrested, they're already in jail. What can you do over a keyboard? What can you do watching them from TV? The hard part is probably going to get a public defender, or, I mean, they have a little bit of money, I heard. So they're probably going to get a good lawyer. But can you imagine being the lawyer that defends those four people? How are you going to say that you didn't do that? How are you going to get away with that? Only time will tell. And there's another case that just ended up, and it's the Russ case with one of the Baldwin brothers. Kimber, have you heard about that one? Um, it's where one of the Baldwin brothers supposedly got a loaded gun and he shot the producer, and he was blaming he wasn't taking any accountability for him not checking the gun. Yes, Alec Baldwin. He wasn't taking any accountability for checking the gun, and he lied and said that the armorer was the one that handed him the gun, the one that just got 18 months. Um, and it says, he did an interview after that happened, and he denied any accountability. I listened to this guy talking today, and he said, it's like you getting in your vehicle, loaning it to somebody, and they go and wreck and kill somebody. Is it your responsibility after you loaned it to them to be accountable for them wrecking and killing somebody? Which is a good scenario, because think about that. The armorer said that it was a cold pistol, meaning that there was no live rounds. Then she handed it to the executive producer. He didn't check it. He handed the gun to Alec Baldwin. He fired the gun, killing the producer. Then he wanted to blame the armorer, saying that she shouldn't have handed me a loaded pistol. Well, bro, if you don't know, whether it be on a movie set whether it be out in the woods, whether it be target practice, whatever, you should check your weapons at all times. And you sure as hell shouldn't pull the trigger aiming it at a person that you don't intend to shoot, whether it be live rounds or not. He should have checked the gun. He is liable. In my opinion, he is liable. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Sarge, you think he's liable? Kimber, you think he's liable? I believe he's liable. I believe that he should get exactly what the armorer got or worse because it's your responsibility. That's like saying, okay, I didn't know. Ignorance is not a, what do they say? Ignorance is not an excuse to not know the law. So this is the same thing. You have a loaded weapon. Ignorance doesn't override your ability to do the right thing, which is to check the gun. So a lady lost her life because you believe that you're so entitled as an actor that everybody does for you, so you don't have to do anything because you're an actor. Well, if that's your mentality, you need to give it up. Sarge, you want to come up for a little bit? You haven't been on my panel for a while. Kimber, you want to come up? We can all have just a powwow. There's just the three of us right now. Y'all want to come up? You don't have to be on camera. We can all just talk up here live instead of, just me talking to myself. There's the link. Y'all come on up.
Hola.
Howdy. We're waiting on Sarge.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah, she propositioned me last night, 12 gauge.
Oh, wow.
I told you to go to your room.
I was flattered.
I missed
12
that.
gauge. I was completely flattered.
Yeah, you were talking about something kind of pornographic when I signed off, and I saw that. Go to your room, Sarge.
It's
We're
always, you never know what's going to happen in Sergeant Cletus's chat.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that Rush case? I mean, there's not a lot of coverage on that, but it's a true crime thing because of the way that it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a crime of passion or anything like that. But what do y'all think about that? Give me y'all's expertise on that.
I think Alec Baldwin is liable.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think he's liable because regardless of whether you're supposed to trust the people on the set, it was he was one of the producers of the movie, so that makes it even worse. He should have checked that gun.
Well, not only that, if you go to a bar and you're overly intoxicated while at that bar, the bartender can be held accountable for that.
Yes.
of course.
So if you leave that bar fully drunk and you get in the car accident and cause an injury, then the bar itself, the establishment, can be held to account. And so in that likeness, the same should apply to anybody, no matter what your economic standing or fame may be. You should not get a pass. This guy should have been brought to justice immediately. I know what he did wasn't intentional, or at least I'll support that point of view. But the fact is, he pulled the trigger and ended a life, and that you need to be accountable for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if any of us are on a gun range, we're out there shooting targets, and we point a gun at a kid and shoot him, and then we say, well, we didn't know the gun was loaded. Would that hold water?
No.
No, and that's so. Can I just say? Well, I forgot my point was that's why the armorer is being held to account. Consider the story I gave you about the bar.
Yeah.
That's why both parties need to be held to account. She had a responsibility. She failed in that. And that caused, and in her way, she had her hand in the death of that woman. Right?
Yeah.
So she's the bartender in this situation. And Alec Baldwin is the drinker.
Yeah. I agree.
You know?
Yeah, the woman that gave him the gun should have. She's got some responsibility in this too.
Just like the bartender. And I was furious that she was the only one charged. I mean, I think America should have been fully outraged that the case even that they brought against him originally was dismissed originally. But they brought the case against the murderer. And I'm thinking, so the working person gets stomped into the dirt. I know she's culpable and should be held to account, but yet they dismissed the charges on Alec. That's how this unwound in the beginning. And I was offended deeply by that. It's like that. Why does he get a pass?
But the producer wasn't even charged, and he's the one that handed him the gun.
I thought he was the producer. It was his.
He was partial producer.
Right. So I think we agree. Do you agree, though? I think in unanimity we can agree that Mr. Baldwin should be charged for his action.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody in that whole thing. Let me pull up this body cam footage. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but let me put it up. I was gonna do a live on this the other day, but I just didn't feel like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna have a minute to talk about the Kohberger alibi.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Yeah, let me show this body cam right quick.
It is our first look at the chaos on the set of Rust as paramedics frantically but unsuccessfully try to save cinematographer Helena Hutchins' life. While laying next to her in agony, director Joel Souza is treated for his gunshot wound. The stunning and somber body camera footage reveals the life and death struggle that unfolded after Alec Baldwin fired the deadly shot.
Are you doing okay? No, I'm not actually.
The actor and producer speaking to investigators for the first time.
I was the one holding the gun, yeah. Okay. I'm happy to stay right here and do everything I need.
After a despondent Baldwin recounts some of the shooting.
As of right now, her status is questionable.
Crime scene technicians photographed his clothing, documenting evidence while also obtaining this video. It shows Baldwin during rehearsal pulling his revolver, moments before deputies say he fired the fatal shot. Afterwards, assistant director Dave Hall's with Baldwin, trying to figure out how a live round got into the gun. Hours later, Baldwin and the crew were questioned at length by investigators. The trove of evidence includes a series of emails from crew members raising serious safety concerns before the shooting. There's also messages from Hannah Perez-Reed, the movie's armorer, to supplier Beth Kenny, in which she asked for live ammunition for a different film months earlier, which is never allowed on set. Kenny replies to the ask, "It's a serious mistake, always ends in tears."
Do those text messages trouble you?
I think it shows some behavior and some actions on different movie sets with some of the same people that were involved in the Rust movie set.
And this is potentially how live ammunition may have made its way onto the Rust set?
I think it's possible.
Tonight, authorities say a series of fatal mistakes led to last October's shooting. The question now, are criminal charges next?
And Miguel, where is the criminal investigation right now? Where does it stand?
Well, Lester, the sheriff's department is nearly done with their criminal investigation.
Hey, 12, can you turn your
directly to the
volume up a little bit?
Attorney, but in totality here, we're likely looking at weeks, potentially even months before we know if charges will be filed.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Hey, Clue, welcome to the panel.
Hey, Clue and Cletus.
Hello.
Welcome to the 12 Gauge crew.
I'm not stealing that. Did y'all notice that they said that there was another person that was shot? Did y'all catch that? It wasn't just the cinematographer or something.
Yeah, there were two people. There were two people shot. 12. There was another guy, and there was another person injured.
No, I didn't know that. I just thought
From that one round?
Yes.
Okay. I could see.
I think it was just the one run.
How you hit 2 people with 1 bullet?
He good.
At close range,
Right?
that gun penetrates. That gun will fly right. That bullet ain't being stopped at a close range.
If it was a through and through, it would have went through what? If it was a through and through, it could have went through one and hit the other one.
Absolutely. That's an extremely powerful handgun. Those Smith and Wesson 45s, long barrel. That shell is moving when it comes out of that barrel.
Yeah, and if it was a through and through, it could have went through one and hit the other one.
Yeah,
That's what it was a 44.
Was it a 44?
But you notice in those pictures he was cross drawing and he had his finger on the trigger already.
Yeah, I thought he was looking into the cylinder of the gun. I wanted to see that gun.
Any of y'all shoot guns? Have guns?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What's the first thing you tell people who are handling a gun?
Treat it like it's loaded.
Yep.
Treat it like it's loaded. So you're telling me that because I'm an actor that makes a lot of money, I don't know that? What's your opinion on that?
In all fairness, though, listen, there is a little exception to that. You're in a movie where you're drawing guns and shooting at each other. So I'm gonna say that this situation it's unique in that the problem I have is he pointed it at a non-actor offset. That woman that was shot wasn't part of a scene coming up. She was a media something, right? I forget.
Cinematographer, I think. Sorry.
And so he drew down on her, pointed and pulled the trigger. If it were someone on the movie set, then I would probably view it slightly differently as well.
So involuntary manslaughter would be a fair charge for that.
Yeah. No, I think the man should be charged. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So when does he go to trial? His trial.
I probably am I'm probably per usual against everyone else, but so say we've got a bus full of kids, young kids, right? One of the kids stole an airplane bottle of liquor from their parents' liquor cabinet. The bus driver gets the liquor from the kid because you're young, you're not supposed to have this, whatever. If they drink the liquor, is it the kid's fault that they're now driving drunk? No.
No, but that's I don't know if that analogy applies to this situation. You have adults with guns. They said, if you heard that clip, that they had a lot of different evidence. It was knowledge that gun was used for live fire while the movie wasn't being filmed. So after hours. So everybody knew that it was a real gun capable of live fire. They'd actually targeted practiced with it. So he had knowledge that weapon was a deadly weapon. This wasn't a prop. He knew that. So then he pulls it, points it, and pulls the trigger. And just be aware, pulling the trigger requires you to pull the hammer back twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a deliberate, intentional act that can't be avoided. You must consciously be aware of this, or the gun can't be fired. And when you actually go through the process of cocking that gun, you know that you've got to pull it twice. Otherwise, you would go off what they used to call, don't go off half cocked. That gun can be half cocked and you can't pull the trigger, you can't fire it. Then once you get the half cock, you have to pull it back to full cock. Now the gun can be shot. So his actions go a little bit beyond, I think, the analogy of a kid with a liquor bottle.
Well, all right. So let me give you another scenario then. If I'm a chef in a restaurant and the waitress hands me a slip of paper and the order says no nuts, right? The person has a nut allergy. If I make the dish with nuts, right? I didn't pay attention. I'm texting my girlfriend, whatever. And then the waitress hands the food to the person. Is it the waitress's fault that she didn't check there weren't nuts on it? Fuck no. It's the chef's fault. You had like a job. You're the armorer. You're not
Right, but
supposed. You know what I mean? Like
you're
I feel
taking
like
out
it's,
the fact that this is a deadly weapon. This isn't a meal. This isn't a
those
bottle of
nuts were
liquor.
a deadly weapon.
Yeah, the nuts were a deadly weapon. I see where clues coming from on that one.
I'm
Yeah,
just
you
saying,
could,
like
you
I
could.
feel
Listen. The
I
food is a deadly weapon. I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying to you is, though, would an average person know that? You got a gun in your hand. What is a gun? There's only one thing a gun can be considered as a deadly weapon. A plate of food that's been fucked up by the chef and the waitress delivers it. Of course, especially if she could show she notified the chef, she's not culpable for anything. The chef should be.
well, so I feel like it's a dangerous and slippery slope, right? Because I already feel like people in America are starting a trend where they're just not responsible for like their actions when it comes to like their job. And I feel like this is just another case like that. The armorer's job is to make sure the guns are not loaded. If you guys are live firing and you're involved in that and you don't take out all the ammo, you don't clear all the guns. Like, first off, you should have a rule as an armorer that you're not going to live fire these guns at all.
That rule exists.
So I don't even, if the armorer was involved in the live firing, 100% they're culpable for this all day long, because you knew it could be a problem. So
Right.
you have to be extra
She's
on
been
guard.
convicted, Lou. She's been convicted.
Well,
Why
that's,
should the
I
producer get
understand,
away
but
with it?
huh?
Why should the producer? Because the gun passed supposedly between two hands
Movie.
before it got to Alec Baldwin. So it went from the armorer to the producer to Alec Baldwin. So the producer didn't check it, gave it to Alec Baldwin after the producer was told it's a cold gun. He passed it on to Alec. Alec shot it, killed those people. So do you believe that the guy in the middle should be charged as well? Because he wasn't charged. He was that white-haired guy with the mask on.
Not, did the armorer tell him it was not loaded?
Yeah, she told him it was cold.
Then no, I don't think he has any accountability in that. I'm sorry. This is
Okay.
your job. You know what I mean? I feel like Americans as a rule are getting very non accountability, in my opinion. And this is just like, I think I look at it different because when I was in the workforce, I couldn't screw up. I couldn't make mistakes, or somebody would die. And it's like I don't get to have these excuses that I just wasn't paying attention and I accidentally left this like I don't get to have those excuses. I think it's crazy.
Might I ask you, Clue, if there's rules of how to handle a gun and you don't follow them, are you culpable for the end result?
I mean, at the end of the day, the person who had that responsibility should be held accountable.
There's rules on how, regardless of let's say you're walking down the street and you pick up a gun and then you point and pull the trigger. Are you culpable? Because the rules of firearms, that any time you're in possession of firearms, you want to make sure the chamber is clear.
So
it's your responsibility to make sure that gun is clear and on safe.
But here's the problem, I think, in terms of the legality of the situation. He wasn't walking down the road and pick up a gun off the street.
Right.
He was handed a gun second hand from somebody that was responsible for what it was loaded with.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. I agree with what you're saying is fact, but what you're not taking into account, and what the finishing of what I was going to say is, it matters not how the firearm was obtained. The proper operation of a firearm, okay, that is trained to you, is that firearm is clear and safe before you handle it. That goes for anybody that comes in contact with any gun at any time. That's what they train you to do. But Mr. Baldwin did not do that. He obtained a gun and he trusted the people beneath him. And you're not supposed to take a gun that you're going to point at people and take on faith what other people told you. Your job is to make sure that gun is clear.
Did they train him at that set to do?
All these actors get gun safety courses. Yes.
Hey, Cletus, I heard Hey Cletus, I heard that they offered him a training on the cross draw, but he refused it.
Well, that's just on a style of brandishing the weapon, right? Not necessarily the handling of it. Because I think there's an argument to be made for him in terms of not charging him, because at the end of the day, if they didn't give him reasonable training on set of firearm safety, if they can't prove that happened, then they can't just run on common sense knowledge of what all of us that handle weapons know. Even though,
so would it be fair? Would it be fair if the dozens of other movies where he possessed firearm, he obtained that training? Would it be fair to say that when he declined any further training, it was because he already had the knowledge that he took this training? Would that be fair?
I think I would have to see.
Because I'm sure somewhere along his career, Cletus,
let him answer.
I think I would have to see the differences in other movies where he's handled firearms, right? And I'm more playing devil's advocate because I do agree with what Clue is saying. And I'm just sitting here thinking about it and considering it in my head. And I'm like, I mean, the law is the law, right? And common sense isn't a law, right? The law of common sense is something we all assume, but it's not written into law.
Right. Because you keep saying there's rules for handling a gun. That is not a fucking rule. I ain't seen that in no rule book. I've never seen it written on paper.
Well, I've never purchased a firearm and had to acknowledge that rule before I purchased
it. Exactly. So
no, have you ever taken gun training?
I have.
And they don't tell you how to handle that weapon when it's given to you in any way? What you're supposed to do with the weapon the minute you take possession of it?
They do, but this is on a movie set, which is make believe, right? So I think there's a fair argument in his defense there.
Okay. Well, if the prosecution can't prove that he was trained in gun handling, if they can't prove he's never, if there's no way to show he took a course, then you've got an argument.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
What do you think, Kimber?
I agree. If he's never taken a course in gun safety,
it's a bullshit argument, right? In terms of what's fair and just, but the law is the law. And to me, without him deliberately going against training that he's went through and it be a provable fact, I don't know that they could convict him of it.
Even of negligence?
Is ignorance a defense? Let me ask you, is ignorance a defense?
No.
No, but because if you're uninformed about something, if you're uninformed,
no, if you get pulled over and you said, "Well, I didn't know that they lowered the speed limit," I've tried this before. That's how I know.
But
ignorance gave me a ticket.
But
just be aware, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
But yeah, you've got a license to operate a vehicle, in which, when you obtained that license, part of the testing was how to abide by the speed limit, even if it's not posted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. But I was trying to use that excuse. That's what my point was. I was trying to tell the cops.
Well, the definition of ignorance isn't being stupid, right? It's just being uninformed. And if ignorance could be in.
So if I get a ride with you to the bank and I go in and rob it, does your ignorance save you?
If someone didn't know that your intention was to rob a bank, it absolutely could save you.
No.
Well, remind me never to give Sarge a ride to the bank.
No, ignorance of the law does not save you.
Yeah.
But in Alec Baldwin's situation, he didn't break a law.
Correct.
Well, killing somebody is breaking a law, I think.
He pointed a gun that he had reason to believe was basically unloaded for all intents and purposes.
Right.
That breaks common sense of man's common sense law, but it doesn't break any legal law.
We'll see. He's actually been charged. They've actually are bringing a case against him. The last I understood.
Oh, okay. Well then,
wasn't it isn't it criminally negligent homicide?
Right. Right. Because the law, the common sense arguments that you have when you hold up the law and look at it, taking of another person's life intentionally or unintentionally, is punishable by involuntary manslaughter.
Well, then I mean, if that's the way it's written, then yeah, I mean, it's worthy of the charge because technically he did.
Right.
Now, I think if he's charged and convicted, or if he's convicted, I would say he has a decent ground for a civil suit against the production company, right?
And the armor he was underpaying. I don't know if you've seen that come out of Toronto.
Let's watch this video right quick. If y'all don't mind.
This is the last scene cinematographer Helena Hutchins ever filmed. Alec Baldwin rehearsing a shooting scene. Moments later, the gun was fired, killing her and injuring the film's director. New Mexico police have released all the files associated with the ongoing criminal investigation into Ms. Hutchins' death. Officers can be seen arriving on the scene of a film set transplanted into a real-life tragedy. Inside the church where the shooting happened, investigators attempt to piece together the moment Hollywood superstar Baldwin shot dead Hutchins.
The last I got from her was it went in through her right and out the left back.
Outside, officers inspect Baldwin's clothing. He's still dressed as the cowboy character he was depicting in the film. He pauses briefly to answer his mobile phone.
Could you hold it 1 second, please?
Baldwin has denied pulling the trigger on the gun which killed Hutchins and says he doesn't know how live rounds came to be on the set.
Okay, what is your full name?
The film's armourer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, is also captured on police body cam in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. The 24-year-old was responsible for safety of guns on the set. She is now suing the weapons provider, alleging he supplied a mismarked box of ammunition containing live rounds. A report by the state of New Mexico last week found the producers of the film were responsible for the death of Helena Hutchins, saying they showed a plain indifference to employee safety. There could yet be criminal charges brought. The entirety of that police investigation into the shooting which horrified Hollywood is now in the public domain.
So he denied pulling the trigger? What the hell?
Yeah, see, and things like that change my perspective completely because you're blatantly lying. I've operated firearms for 40 years, and I've never had one go off that did not have the trigger pulled.
There was that one time you missed the barn, but we won't get into that.
That damn chicken.
That I have a problem with somebody lying about the situation. Like, you own up to it, right? You pulled you brandished the weapon, it went off, you were pointing it at the lady. Why make a silly ass argument though? I didn't pull the trigger.
Listen, I don't think he did nothing that was intentional that would be what you would normally want to hold somebody accountable for. I agree with that 100%.
Look,
life was
you asked me, well, what happened? And I say, well, I don't even know how the gun went off. And there's two people lying on the floor bleeding. One dies. How the hell did the gun go off? You pulled the trigger.
Don't you guys remember this case in the beginning? Everybody was showing you these guns and showing you how they need to be double cocked. You just simply can't pull the hammer back. The hammer pulls to a stop, and then you have to pull it and get all the way back again. That's
Well, you saw the video just then. He shot the gun. Did you see the video?
But could it also be that he's so stunned at when he did that he just can't even accept that he pulled the trigger himself? Could he just be saying, I didn't pull the trigger? He's just
Hey, come on, Sarge. Now we're getting to like that other video. He couldn't accept just stabbing one person. He had to stab four more.
But now hold on, 12.
I'm giving the guy a fair shake is all I'm trying to do.
Hold on, 12, because Alec Baldwin didn't do it intentionally. It wasn't an intentional act.
Yeah,
so that it may have been so traumatic for him that in that instance he doesn't remember because I don't know.
You
I
still
don't
may
know.
not fully believe what you just did. Look, and I don't
that's
have any
it.
ill feelings towards the guy because of this incident. I just don't. And I don't think he did anything intentional, but I think that once the life was taken, regardless of the circumstance, you should be held to account. I think he should get probation. I don't think the guy should go to,
I don't think he should go to prison. No.
Why?
But
So why was it being filmed?
They
Were
were
they
filming.
were they
filming.
actually were they shooting the movie?
Yeah, they were filming a movie.
But
So
I'm saying at that moment, because what I remember hearing in the beginning is he just walked in and picked the thing up off the table
No,
and was
that's not.
practicing shooting. So is that not actually the case? Were they actually in the middle of actively filming that scene?
They were not filming the scene, but the scene was coming. And what he was doing in the clip that 12 Gauge has collected is practicing a quick draw.
Okay.
Is it right? 12 Gauge?
Yes, I mean the two that I've seen. Yes, he was just practicing, but they were they were about to shoot the scene.
Right.
Okay.
He was just practicing the draw.
So he was practicing the draw, and one practice round, the gun went off and killed this lady. Is that okay?
It injured the director, the
Yeah.
other director. Yeah. So one magic bullet went through one and ended up in the other, and I mean, that's a big bullet, though. I mean, I could see
Yeah.
how that happened. That's a
Yeah,
big
for
bullet.
sure.
Don't you JFK this?
Hey, unless somebody's wrist was shattered, then we got a conspiracy right here.
That's too funny. Yeah, well, we'll see. Let the legal system do its thing, but whatever it comes out to be, it's going to be. I suspect.
I mean, I don't think they should lock the man up. And if indeed the people whoever supplied the guns sent the wrong guns, they should be held accountable as well.
Maybe he should use the newly founded staring at the stars and moon defense.
Reflections.
Reflections.
I mean, all I'm saying is this, and I know, per usual, I'm always against the grain. It is what it is, but the way that man just described that lady in the back of that police car and her job title, the right person is in jail. Responsible for the safety of the weapons on the set. You failed. Period.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what we all know. You treat a gun like it's loaded. You don't play around with him. But that's the thing, is he wasn't just in there willy-nilly playing around. He was doing his job as an actor, practicing for a scene.
Right.
The assumption is these guns are safe because there's someone hired to make sure they're safe. Underpaid or not, you took the job.
I'll tell you what, if it was a Russian roulette game, okay, and you were on a movie set where you've actually fired that gun at beer bottles and stuff, right? And you knew the gun was capable of firing bullets and it was a real gun and not a prop. I suspect that if you sat down for a fun game of Russian roulette thinking there were blanks in the gun, you might look just to make sure.
Well, here's an example, right, that I think is applicable to this situation. So let's say you've got a gun that you keep on your coffee table for home defense, and you've got two kids that like to play with toy guns and play cops and robbers. And one of the kids picks up the gun off the coffee table, mistaking it for his toy, and shoots the other kid. That kid's not held responsible. You are, because you're the one that's legally responsible to make sure that toy doesn't get mistaken for a loaded weapon. Because there is a reasonable argument for Alec Baldwin to assume that is nothing more than a prop.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I heard too that when she handed the gun to the assistant director or whatever they call him, she spun the chamber. She showed him the chamber, spun it, and that's when the exchange took place. Then he handed it to Alec Baldwin. I mean, regardless of the fact, you're right. She had the job to do, and she failed at it. I mean, she should know the difference between a live round and a prop.
Well, and if she spun the revolver, the cylinder, that's what the word I'm thinking of. If she spun that, which direction were they looking at? Because a blank versus a live round would look identical from the back.
Right. So no telling. I mean, they could have looked just at the back. I mean, most people would, right?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't,
You don't look at the bullet in the front.
yeah, I wouldn't stare down the barrel of the gun while I spin the
I I'm sorry. I feel like it's a very dangerous thing, this case, because you're going to give these young kids who already half-ass want to do things more excuses to half-ass do things, because in the end they may not be held responsible. It's like if you work for an amusement park and you put someone on a ride, right, and they exceed that weight limit, and you know the bar doesn't close on them, the ride goes off, they fly out, they die. Is the amusement park responsible, or the person who put the person in the ride?
Yeah, and I don't think, just so you know, 12 gauge, that revolver had the ability for the cylinder to lay off to the side so you could spin it. That revolver, that cylinder is mounted into the gun, and there's a trap door that you slide off, slide to one side, and load the bullets. Load a bullet, click, do it again. It's not like a conventional revolver where you can actually bear the cylinder and spin it for people to see what's in there.
So it's kind of like the old school cap guns, you know?
Oh, absolutely, 100% like that. Yeah.
Okay,
this is an old 1800s gun.
Then there's absolute. I mean, I don't know what defense the armorer could have had, which you said they've already convicted her. I mean, because
they have
handling a blank round versus a live round. If your job is to make sure you're not putting live ammunition into a gun, and you're incompetent enough to mistake a blank for a live round, yeah, I mean you are negligent, 100%. But I'm still not seeing him as necessarily being that.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that type of gun. I remember those old school, you know, you lifted the side, put the caps in there, and
yeah,
and the things sounded like, you know, firecrackers or some shit.
Well, yeah, it's a fucking tragedy, man. And look, we'll see who comes down right. Clue is in the corner that he may have an arguable defense, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm in the corner that he's going to be found guilty and probably sentenced to a probation sentence of some sort, probably home confinement with a pearl necklace or something.
I'm gonna go with he's gonna have to do community service and shit. Maybe do some gun commercials or some shit. You know, something appearances. Maybe
Provided he had training, documented training, I would agree. Short of that, I don't even think he should be convicted.
Right. Yeah, and I suspect somewhere along his career, he's probably had a course in gun handling many times.
I would hope so, because if he hasn't, then, you know, there's some regulations that need to be made on the film industry.
Right. Because some prop guns, depending on the era, there really isn't a prop gun available, and they actually will use, you know, friends of the actors or gun collectors. They'll like they do with cars, man. Right? I mean, it's not a Chevette they turned into a Ferrari. They actually borrowed that, paid someone to use it on their movie set. So that's how a lot of these guns come to be. But the fact that was real, he knew it was real. I think that's going to hurt him.
Well, you don't think that they'll try to debunk his theory of he didn't know the gun went off if he's in other movies where he's been shooting guns? We had a chatter that discussed that earlier. Do you think that plays any role in it?
Has he played in Westerns before? I don't know.
Yeah, or any cop shows or anything where he's been shown that, you know, he's firing a gun as a prop.
Yeah, but I mean, firing that gun versus firing any modern gun is going to be different, right? Because of just the fundamental mechanisms.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's been in any restaurants. Do y'all recall?
I can't name an Alec Baldwin movie off the top of my head.
Isn't he like a supporting actor most of the time? Like he was in Law and Order or some shit like that?
No, he wasn't in Law and Order, but I can't name an Alec Baldwin movie.
He was in one, I remember, about a grizzly bear, and he was the main actor, and that's the only one I can think of.
Wasn't he in another Western before this?
That's what I'm trying to think. I don't know that he has been.
And I got a correction on the document I read with Koberger.
Yeah,
Is it breaking? Is it
let's go ahead.
breaking news?
Let's go ahead and switch gears.
Breaking news, Sergeant Friday was wrong.
Oh my God! Breaking news: Sergeant Friday was wrong.
Holy
Clue?
shit!
Holy crap!
Where's Clue?
Clue, are you recording this to play on your morning show
I already
tomorrow?
have that. I already have that soundbite.
You want to share that soundbite with us? You want to share that soundbite with us there, Clue?
Sergeant Friday was wrong.
There you go.
Yeah, good one, Cletus.
You got to do the laugh too, Cletus.
You people are fucked up. I love you.
I
Listen,
really
the
do
expert. The
sound
expert is
clip.
not the expert from the prosecutor. Or it's an own independent expert. I misspoke when I said it was the prosecutor's expert. And my excitement to point out that the alibi matches up to what the experts are the expert testimony is going to confirm Koberger's alibi. It's going to be her, the state's experts that they are going to be trapped off with. Her expert is the one that's going to know who they're referring to in that document.
That her expert has got some stuff under his belt.
Yeah, well, when you go do a look on who he is, you do a LinkedIn on him, you go look at him, consulting expert testimonies that relates to detailed record analysis and geolocation. So this guy is like, the founder of ZX Corporation and lead RF engineering. This guy's no joke. He's the expert's expert.
So all you have to prove is that Koberger was at a specific area during the commission of the crimes.
And his proof is going to be supported by the information that was already provided to them. And they're still arguing that they're not getting it. She's saying Ray's testimony will reveal that critical exculpatory evidence further corroborating Mr. Koberger's alibi was either not preserved or has been withheld. So she's alleging prosecutorial misconduct in that statement, in my opinion.
Clue, did WSU mom Kim, did she lose a child doing that, or
no?
Okay.
Just her mind.
Okay, I can tell she keeps going, oh my gosh, there's killers among our children, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, she is special.
That's what I kind of gathered.
Is she special Edwina, brother special Ed?
I don't know because I don't talk to her.
I don't either, because she's like, well, because she said something tonight about the prosecution buried exculpatory evidence or something. The state buried exculpatory evidence.
She said Mr. Ray's
Probably
testimony.
right on that.
Yeah, I can put it in the chat. I can copy and paste. I don't know if it's too many letters though. Yeah, she's claiming that he'll show.
Who are you talking about?
WSU mom Kim, she's
Oh, okay.
a staple.
I can get it for you there, Kimber.
I can't see it.
It's in. It should show up on YouTube. It's in
Hold
the
on a
comments on StreamYard.
Oh,
Oh, now
Is
it's
that
on
what-
screen. Thank you.
You're welcome. Somebody want to read that?
If not disclosed, Mr. Ray's testimony will also reveal that critical exculpatory evidence further corroborating Mr. Koberger's alibi was either not preserved or has been withheld.
So what the hell does that say? I mean, what that mean?
Somebody
means that-
somewhere is hiding something that makes him look innocent.
Or
That means that his alibi will coincide with a video or photograph of a car you watch.
Yeah.
Okay. He's claiming he was at a different location. And he's using
Kimber,
this
you're up there
geolocating guy.
Let me.
Sorry.
I'm leaving to come back.
Okay. So, do you remember when they said that Bethany had the the exculpatory evidence, but then quickly went to a grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered what kind of damn exculpatory evidence she had. Like, I mean, they had to be something tremendous for them to haul out to that grand jury, because either they knew that her exculpatory evidence was going to get him off, or they didn't want to even bring that out in the public arena.
Well, could it be just as simple as this? Their case was so weak, which quite frankly it was, that the thought that the defense knew something that they didn't that could potentially be exculpatory was enough of a threat for them to just bypass the preliminary hearing.
But how could they know something? How could they know something that the prosecution doesn't?
Well,
They
He
found
hired an
that
investigator.
exculpatory evidence in her interviews.
Well, it took them. It's taken them. I'm sorry, 18 months to get the cast data put together. So I mean, how long would it take them to actually go through words in an interview?
Kimber, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I'm
Okay,
still.
I was wondering if I removed the wrong one.
Am I still
Okay.
here twice?
Yeah. Well, no, you're up there once, but the other one down at the
You know,
bottom.
to me, the only thing that she could put forward, I think, that would explain it easily is she saw a person of color.
Or
I
a
think
girl.
or a girl, right?
Or
Something
the
that's so
person had tattoos.
contradictory. Excuse me?
Or the person had identifying marks like tattoos or something.
Right. Something that would significantly contradict Bethany's description.
Dylan.
Or Dylan. I'm sorry. I get names wrong. I'm sorry, folks. I do. I'm bad with that.
Or something that could discredit Dylan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she was tripping.
Or she
on
saw a truck
acid.
drive away. What if she looked out the window and said she saw a different kind of vehicle driving away? There could be a lot of things she says that contradict the narrative. And when you put somebody on the stand at the grand jury, they're only going to answer the questions you ask them. And from what we heard from the father and from other rumors, well, I don't want to get into it, but you know, they indicted the guy. Whatever they presented, they got their indictment, which is ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, and it's real interesting to me, right? Because I'm thinking about, let's say that this is 100%, he's 100% innocent and he gets proven not guilty. What are the people that are so adamantly certain and constantly willing to find a way to overlook the facts and the documents and the things that are provided? What will they say if that outcome is the one that's had? Because it's like, you know, not switching gears, but the Sebastian Rogers situation. I've seen as recent as last night, new experts involved. And they immediately, they say that they've only been involved for 2 days, but they already imply that they state that they don't have enough information to make a claim about anybody, but then immediately start implying guilt on one set of parents. And I'm like, you know, I was thinking about that tonight with the Koberger situation and that alibi, his new private investigator.
Oh.
But the Koberger situation, that alibi, and I'm like, if that is factual, 100%, it's not fluff, it actually exists, and it does prove he was not there. Right. What are all the people that are so adamantly certain that and have claimed that he is absolutely the guy? What will they say in the outcome of this, you know?
You know, you are.
They'll do a very gentle, well, I guess I was wrong, and then start to get on board with that.
They'll go berserk.
No, they'll twist the facts to say that the guy, he got off on a technicality, or Ann Taylor lied, or what they're going to do, because they believe like they believe in a God. They're not going to. Some of them will. Now, I'll agree with you on that. Some people are reasonable enough to accept the facts for the value of the fact and move on. Most people aren't going to be able to do that, especially social media people.
Well, you're right.
They've already joined the train. I believe he did it, and nothing will change your mind when you have a belief.
I don't know about you guys, but I'll be glad to finally get it over with. I mean, it's been drug on too long already.
Well, I'm not. for me personally, like I'm anxious to see it come to an end, especially if he's guilty, because
Right.
it'll give the parents and the families justice that they want. However, what I'm more anxious for is the opportunity for people to learn a lesson from this, right? Because there's going to be a world of people that are 100% convicted either on either side of the fence. And it's an opportunity for whoever is wrong to learn something from it and take something away from it. And that's why I asked that question. I wonder what, if this is factual and it proves he's not guilty, what would people that are adamant
You
that
mean,
would say?
Cletus, are you saying that being wrong is a way to learn?
Absolutely.
Oh my, not that.
I've never heard that before.
I've never heard that before.
Oh my God.
Who would have thought you could be wrong and learn from it?
And you know something, people should be celebrated when they actually see things for what the truth is. It's what they see, and they wake up from. They realize that they did learn something, right? I mean, people being wrong, people think is offensive, and you don't want to be publicly wrong, but you're not really admitting to wrong if you see facts, and the facts bear themselves to be true. So if the facts and what we've seen in this case show Kohlberger was something else, and you accept it, you're a better person for it, right? That should be rewarded, celebrated.
I described that tonight at the very beginning of the video on that.
I stole it from you.
Oh yeah, is that what you're stealing right now? Okay, that's cool.
Stop.
But I mean, I was able to change my mind based on the law. When I actually looked at the law that I was presenting, I was like, okay, I've read this 3 times. It's time to swallow my pride and go with what the facts say instead of what my beliefs say.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're a good guy there, 12 gauge.
Well, thank you. Cletus, I want to ask you something.
All right.
Are you whenever they have the Linda Lane stuff, do you believe that that's real, or do you think that it was messed with? Do you think the footage was messed with, or do you think that it was just a genuine video where people hear what the hell they want to hear?
In terms of audio, I think it has absolutely no value.
Yeah.
In terms of the video itself, I couldn't say either way. I've got no reason to believe it was edited, but I've got no reason to believe it's real either, right? Because it would be possible to edit it. But at the end of the day, I don't know how much of a real role it plays.
0 to none. If I would say, I don't think it plays a role at all.
Isn't her motions and her now alibi submittal completely ignoring any of the other stuff that we've reviewed, right? I mean,
Yeah, based on the information she presents in that, or claims to have from that expert and presents in that alibi, Linda Lane's irrelevant because he was never in the area of Linda Lane.
Right.
What do you think, Kimber?
Well, from what I've heard, I think that Mr. Kohlberger just might be innocent.
Yeah, he may be wrongly accused. They may have got tunnel vision because they had so much ancillary or side information, and they ran with it. And I think I'm going to say this. I think this is what we're going to find out shortly. I think we're going to find out that the evidence that shows him being somewhere else is from a bunch of videos that were reviewed by the FBI, but not with the understanding of how they were going to be used by the local police. So they show him the Linda Lane footage of that car, if that's real, and that is an 11 to 13. And then they show him another picture of another car in an identifiable area, and that may have been a 14 to 16. So in other words, I think that they had such tunnel vision that they actually presented information to help shape the narrative of this case. And that's the problem they're having with the discovery, because that will get discovered, right?
Of course. Clue, you have any thought on that? on the Linda Lane?
I think it's just like this video with Sebastian Rogers. People see what the hell they want to see.
I agree with that, Clue. It's crazy as hell because, they're saying it looks like Kohlberger's car. Well, there's 1,000 cars that look like my car. There's more than 1,000, but they're not my car. They're not my car. So it could have looked like Kohlberger's car, but that doesn't mean it was Kohlberger's car. I mean, an Elantra, what is it, silver Elantra?
White Elantra.
Oh, a white Elantra. I couldn't remember if it was white or silver, but a white Elantra, there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
So it could have looked like his car, but that doesn't mean it was his car.
Right.
All he needed a receipt for gas or something around that area where he was at, and it's a wrap. I mean, if he stopped to get gas anywhere near that area around that time, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Who?
Whoever was about to talk. Was it Cletus or you or somebody was about to talk? I didn't mean to cut them off.
Oh, I yawned. It may have looked like I was about to talk.
The resume, I believe, for the expert is inside that actual document that everybody's seen so far, the PDF.
It's long. His resume.
You said he started, or he's the founder of ZX?
Yeah, that's what I had read, yeah.
Oh, he's a lot of things. He's a whole lot of things.
That's what Brian Kohlberger wanted to be.
And I'm going to tell you, Bill Thompson is going to try to get somebody in there to debunk everything. And this guy, like Sarge said, he's the experts. He's the experts. The experts call him.
Well, the thing I like about the way that she went about this is she doesn't have the discovery that she's asked for. And now she's presented a problem for them that forces them to produce what they have or to fabricate something that supports what they're claiming.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, like, I don't know. I think it because, and they have no choice but to do one or the other. And
didn't she just do that with a survey?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I thought that was checkmate, but I kind of feel like this move is checkmate, right? Like it's I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, Kohlberger's not an idiot, so I mean, I'm sure he's researching this shit while he's sitting in his cell, helping her out with his own defense. Do you think that could be plausible?
Sure.
I think if he is guilty and he does get proven innocent, he should write a book about how corruption can free a guilty man.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Why don't y'all write it, Clue?
But when he's sitting at that, when he's sitting at the defense table and Anna's talking, he looks at her like he has complete and total confidence in her.
He does.
That, and he might want to jump up and kiss her.
That's what I said. He looks at her like he's like, hey.
Hey, come on, Ann. But it could be because he's been in jail for 18 months too. So
yeah, he is a young guy. He is a young guy. So yeah. What are them lawyer-client meetings like? Are they recorded?
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's a camera in the room when she's there.
Yeah.
I have something I'd like to point out.
You got the hot mic, bro.
It appears to me that the police made decisions and assumptions and acted upon them and created this case against Mr. Kohlberger in the exact same way the YouTube viewers do, with ancillary evidence that doesn't really provide a conclusion unless you create a conclusion in your own mind. Right? So When you look at how these police acted in this case, just remember, we all act like that. That's the level of that's how deep corruption is. We all make these assumptions without the actual facts, and we come to conclusions, and then we start to believe them. And I think that this case is like the poster child for that exact behavior. I do not have any confidence that these people were smart enough to frame this kid out of thin air, but I'm completely confident, like we witness in all the social media and how people respond to information, that's exactly what those cops suffer from, the same level of ignorance. They made determinations based on a cell phone ping 12 times, and they jumped right away. That's got to be the guy. You see, just like when they say Chris Proudfoot did something 8 years ago, he's got to be the guy. Those cops don't do anything different than the users on YouTube. That's all I got to say.
Well, they're not supposed to do that, though. You know.
Neither are we.
Of course.
Right.
And I'm guilty. I jumped on that bandwagon when the whole Sebastian thing first started. I jumped on that bandwagon, and I thought he did something, they did something. And the more I got to thinking about it, I'm like, who am I? I can't try them in the court of public opinion. That's not my job. And what if they didn't do something? They're living every parent's worst nightmare right now.
Well, what do you think, Clue and Cletus?
I mean, we did the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? When I said he should write a book about how corruption can free a guilty man, it's not about the police. It's a societal problem, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, I don't think that, because everybody's like, oh, well, they could have hid Sebastian here. They could have done this. I'm like, I'm going to tell y'all right now, these are everyday, average, hardworking people. And I don't believe that they are capable of pulling off the perfect crime. No way.
But that's what most people on YouTube want you to believe. They want you to believe that you're dealing with a criminal mastermind in the Sebastian Rogers case, that something nefarious went on, and
I don't even know.
Than everybody else.
And I can tell you, I sure as hell don't believe that Don and Candace Wells pulled off the perfect crime.
No.
You know, if the prosecution could come back and with cast and other video information unequivocally show Mr. Koberger's car was at that crime scene, okay, I would accept that. I wouldn't debate that or argue that. Up to this point, they've yet to do that, come anywhere near that, if I'm not mistaken, right or wrong. How close have they come to actually showing us factually that kid was at that house?
So I'm unclear.
So until I see that, these arguments that Ann's making are strong. And the fact that she was able to do what she did with him in court, so now the public knows that his 12 previous trip, now we know where he went. He went to that park 12 times, right? Not to stalk these kids. And he can prove he did that because the cast information that even the police collected will verify that. They're the ones that told us he made 12 trips. They knew that when they made them statements and allowed it to appear like he was a stalker, and they let that hang. They let it hang so that this kid could fire a firing squad because of the way these people determine this information proves he's guilty. It's kind of sad.
You know, the first time I heard of the stalking thing was when they were doing interviews with that guy at that vape shop. That was the first time I remember hearing about the stalking.
Well, that was a different issue, but that's where but it's in the PCA. It's written in the PCA. It's part of the investigation.
Of course. I remember the other bit.
But it's amazing the conclusions the police came to and seeing what they saw. And then when they had video showing that he went to this park, why they didn't stop then?
I'm a little unclear on the DNA at the house.
That's a mystery, man. That's what I mean. Cletus could be right on that book. You know, Cletus, maybe he got in someone else's car and got a ride back from that park, Cletus, during this time period. We don't know.
But didn't they say that Kohlberger's DNA was at the house?
Yeah, it was on the knife sheath.
That was on the knife sheath on the button snap.
Right.
So that one lady was able to tell how that could happen, right? Vargas, wasn't she able to describe how that could happen?
It seems like maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like the entire case is coming down to just that. Based on what happened in that courtroom and based on this particular filing of an alibi, it appears to me that the evidence is that they're going to only be able to rely upon is going to be the DNA.
Well, I'm sorry, but the way it's written in that affidavit, y'all had his dad's DNA on the knife sheath, period. The way you wrote it. So could a good lawyer argue that? Maybe.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that too.
Yeah, but then they said later they did the STR test and matched Koberger's DNA to the DNA that they had collected. So whether it was his father's DNA on there or not, all that does is further the IgG. And they said they didn't use IgG in identifying Koberger. So in the end, when they did that cotton swab and said that cotton swab, you guys pointed it out to me, the SMP profile, it matched. That's the DNA they want to use in court.
Well,
am I wrong, Cletus and Clue? You guys were we talked about.
No, they say they're not using IgG.
Right.
Right. They're going to use the SMP profile match.
The STR profile.
STR. I'm sorry. Yeah. Right. So that's what I mean. They're left. The only part of their case at this point is that. That's what it appears to me. And I always thought it was going to come down to that.
Yeah, and gonna destroy the eyewitness testimony.
Right. Yeah,
Yellen, she's gonna destroy that.
Right.
Because there's a lot of ways that you can do that. You've discussed them. I've heard Clue discuss them. There's a lot of ways that you can destroy that.
So I want to ask a question hypothetically, right? So we should all. It seems to be law that we should all have access to non-sensitive public records related to cases. Is that a fair statement?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that, I think, in this case, makes defending this person way harder. Well, it obviously makes defending this person way harder than prosecuting them, because I just cannot help but consider how hard it would be to get a jury of 12 people that know nothing about it. And at the end of the day, that's what it should be. And it really makes me, I've thought a lot about this over the past few months, specifically with that case, is would it not be a better situation to just seal the entire thing from public record until the case is over?
Wow.
Well, you could do that.
Well, I mean, the reason I say that, right, is think about all the instantly he's arrested, and instantly he's in cell, instantly he's done this, instantly he's done that, and everybody is out here talking about it, pushing the narrative that that's the popular one at the moment of, hey, we've got a convicted guy, let's go talk about it and make money off of it. And at the end of the day, that taints the entire public, right? Whereas if they didn't even release that, would that not make it a simpler case to get to the end of?
Yeah. Well, but public has to know, because it's us against him. We, the people of Colorado, Indiana, whatever it might be, and that prosecutors are representative, and we need to be kept informed of what they're doing. That's why cases are put on the public record, right? Well, and I'm going to ask you this, because you were Clue may know this. When it comes to discovery, it appears to me that everything the FBI was involved with is exactly the discovery that's not being produced.
Yeah, because they said that they weren't going to use it for evidentiary purposes, right?
No. Do you follow me, Clue? When it comes to the IgG and it comes to the cast, or
Yeah.
any FBI involvement, is it seems to be the records that they're not able to produce, and he's blaming other agencies.
100%.
Right. So every one of her motions that she's filed and the argument she's making in this particular alibi on discovery are documentation and work that the FBI did that's not being given to Bill, according to Bill, but that's really what's being kept from Ann.
Makes you wonder why Sebastian Rogers' biological father is so adamant that the FBI take over the case, huh? because they've proven to be so effective and quick and thorough.
Right. Well, you know, again, how about that other case where the shooting that was one of the people involved in this case were part of, and they put together a case on somebody and they omitted or hid and lied to make their accusation. It's like they screwed up in the beginning and then they just ran with it. When they realized they messed up, they covered it up and tried to get the guy nailed. And then it came to light. Are we seeing it again with this case? It almost looks as if that's possible at this point.
Well, I got two things to say. The first one about the comment on the screen. The jury can know about the case. They just have to not have formed an opinion towards guilt or innocence beforehand, right? And I get that. But the problem lies, look at YouTube. Look at the multitude of theories and opinions based on the little bit of information we have about it. And I think there is a fair argument to say that it's almost impossible for there not to be some level of bias with anybody that's heard about the case.
Right.
That's why I say, would it not be more beneficial to just not disclose anything until it's over? But the other thing I was going to say is, going back, comparing Idaho and Sebastian, and let's say that there is a villain to be found in the Sebastian case and he didn't just run off. Let's just say that for a second. Just like with Brian, people immediately overlook the most likely suspect in the situation.
Right.
Just like in Sebastian's case, everybody is looking at the people that they think make the most sense and are missing what, in my opinion, looks like the most likely villain in the situation.
Right.
Occam's razor, yeah.
And it's funny how that works out.
Yeah, I like how you explain it better than I do, but that permeates through society. And I think some of these cases that we view, unfortunately, the investigators themselves and the people involved behave just like that themselves. You come to YouTube and it's never really a common thing. Like if people dealt with just the information, and pinned that case up on a cork board and brought new cases in along with it and just kept filling in the data and streaming it, updating people on it, rather than allowing these big giant deep theory discussions that allow us to go off into people's faces being peed on. It's crazy.
Well, to be fair as well, is we hear a lot of times on other panels that they're investigating and they're trying to get evidence, and this video, and we've highlighted this video, and we've done this and that to the video, and investigation. That's not what that word means. Investigation isn't looking at a video and trying to see certain things to prove your point. An investigation is actually doing scientific data to gather the evidence to show that evidence supports your claim that the person has committed a crime.
Right.
It's a fact-finding mission to support a theory.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
It's not okay. I played the grub truck and I heard somebody talk about something, and automatically, oh, this guy has a clicker camera because he keeps clicking the camera behind his back. That's evidence. No, it ain't evidence.
What happens often is how they've conditioned us to do this is the simplest thing that they've done that we seem to go along with for some reason is they extend the time of all of these things like this. And time generally fixes everything, even when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Okay. And I think that you'll see that in politics and you'll see that in true crime where these cases, 10 years to catch the corrupt cops that were tied to the gigolo. You got this, you got a lot of things that happen. And what happens as time goes by, in this case, 2026, there'll be another sensational serial killer before then. And then the outcome of this case never really gets any attention, just like we see with Donna Eyes and we see with the Kansas City 3. Same thing with Sebastian. Sadly, if God forbid, whatever the outcome of this is, and these parents aren't involved, nobody's going to learn their lesson. They're just going to go on to the next outrage. And that's just a tragedy.
Whatever happened to the summer well? Did it just die out? Like they quit talking about it, so people quit talking about it on YouTube?
Well, they quit
I
talking.
thought they found a girl. I thought they found her or something.
No, she's still missing. She's been missing 3 years now.
I'd venture to guess that people quit talking about it long after law enforcement did.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sebastian case, the law enforcement hasn't made any statement since April the 3rd. And they didn't even say anything in it, except that they can put out on social media about a flyer or a poster with an updated photo that they didn't approve.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and not just that. I mean, us, the viewer, could start sending letters to the local news agency asking them if they can get follow up from the police department. There's a lot of things we can actually do actively that would be very productive, whether they net anything or not. Just the act of trying to do something good and do the right thing, so this doesn't get forgotten. This kid doesn't go back because people get tired of the infighting between the three people and the.
I'll tell you how close this is to being forgotten. Literally, how close it is. There were 4 news reports. 2 of them were copied off of the other 2 that were local news stations. I'm sorry, 5. The 5th one being News Nation. They put in in their article that the Brownfoots, something they did, and they called them the Brownfoots.
Damn.
That's how close we are to this whole situation being
Wow.
forgotten about. They couldn't even remember the villain, the villain according to the court of public opinion. They couldn't even remember the family name of them.
That's just epic. Yeah, it's sad, man. It's a tragedy. It's 12:14. I'm turning into a pumpkin.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys jumping up here and helping me out tonight. Giving me some extra feedback on, what I started talking on. I really didn't have a title. I'm just seeing if this thing was on. Thank you so much for y'all's insight, y'all's knowledge, and y'all's ability to have a good conversation, even if we don't just agree.
This was your stream? My bad.
I know who's getting their head pissed on now.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Hey, before we drop,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you something, Sarge.
Yes, Bambi.
I knew she was going to do that.
I knew she was too. That's why I called her Bambi. She probably didn't even hear it. Listen,
Well, you guys have
for
a
all you
good
people
night.
that- wait, before I go. You guys contend I talk a lot, and I agree. But some of you people have 3, 4, 5 hour streams with no guests. So let's just keep the context in context.
Yeah.
That's right, Sarge.
I'm all talked out. I'm all talked out. This really takes a lot out of you on a daily basis to do a stream, every day. It takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, it's fun. Listen, I love that you had me up here, and you're a good man. And Kimber, good to
thank
see you. I'm gonna
Good
go
to
my
see you,
room.
Sarge. Thanks
I'm going to my room.
for having me, 12.
Hey, no problem. No problem. Thank you for being up here. Thank you for being a good sport.
Thank you. Anytime. We'll see you later.
All right.
Good night.
Maestro music.
Bye.